rag. Anybody got a do-rag?
He's got the do glasses.
Hey, you got a...
No,
hey,
we got the don't rag.
Got a cigarette? Got a light? Got a
rag.
quarter? What time is it? Let me use your comb. Can you give me a ride? You got a do-rag?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Level Up Cleveland. And this week, we have a very special guest. Well, three of them.
Yeah.
We have a reunited version of Purgatory from the 1980s, if you remember Cleveland scene.
Too much
when it was
metal for one fist.
Purgatory came from that like first wave of metal with Breaker and Destructor and Shock Paris and Wretch and when Bill Peters put together Auburn Records, he signed you guys up and it kind of started there. And then you have that was like they said, that's like that first phase. It's like Cleveland's Big Five. Here we got with us Mr. Jeff Hatrix, the lead singer of Purgatory. He's also was in Hatrix, Mushroom Head. He's currently doing Jeffrey Nothing and Doom Candy.
Yeah.
Mark Alexander,
Yes, sir.
bass player.
Yes. That's it.
And we also,
That's enough. ain't it?
yeah, I was going to say, you're here for it. And then the return of Ken Easterly.
Oh,
Hello there, everybody.
He's the famous one, you know.
It's his month. His episode just came out a few weeks ago. Now we got this one. His son's been featured like crazy. The Easterlys are represented.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Both of them.
But
They're
this
awesome.
time I believe,
Cleveland.
yes, I want to talk about Purgatory a lot though, because
Yes.
like I was telling you guys before, for me this is a personal thing. You know, the Purgatory was huge in the change that I went through when I got into the metal in like 85, 86 when Tide of the Tracks kind of came out, got real popular in Cleveland. Of those five bands at that time, in my opinion, you guys were the top dogs of the whole thing.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean honestly, you know, and they were all great bands. No
yeah,
less.
yeah.
Well, you know, we were the newcomers.
Right, it was.
So,
They'd all been around.
Shock Paris, Breaker, those guys, Destructor, they were already established. And here we come on the scene, and nobody had ever seen us before. But we put out a record first. So there was that little talk going on, and it got bigger, bigger, bigger.
And it was a hell of a wreck.
Yeah,
That and
it wasn't bad. I liked the EP a lot.
That and we had like 6 canceled shows before we finally got the debut.
Build the suspense and the mystique up. We kept canceling shows.
Yeah, we almost played the variety
Bigger
like
crowds.
3 times.
Oh, really?
Oh,
never
yeah,
quite did.
dude. Oh, yeah.
Well, are you guys going to get together again to play the variety when she
Okay.
reopens it?
That would be cool.
Would that
Alright.
not be the coolest thing ever?
Yeah.
That's a great
Finally.
idea.
Well, Juan Ricardo, he was in here, and he's still, the Wretch thing is still alive. You could probably put that whole, I went to a gig with you guys. I was probably 16 or 17, where it was Destructor, Shock Paris, Wretch, Purgatory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was that
At the
the
Agora.
that was
At
the
the
Swedish
Agora.
Dave
Swedish Metal
Massacre.
Massacre.
And we did a march downtown. I don't know if you were part of that. We marched all the way from 55th, where the Agora is, to downtown where they were having a rally. It was against that music thing. Remember?
Wave.
Yeah, remember the music? What's her name?
It was
Tipper
taken-
Gore?
It was for Z-Rock.
Oh,
'cause
that's when they were
taking
doing
over-
the
wave was taking over Z-Rock and we're trying to stop it.
Right.
Oh.
So we get down there. We're about to get some publicity and everything, but Alice Cooper's guitar player, I forgot, the big dude, he gets
Kane
on.
Rob.
He's doing an interview with the local TV station, and he just F-bombing all over the place. So they just said nope, and they didn't cover anything after that. So we marched there for nothing, pretty much.
These guys cuss too much.
Oh, we were pissed. We're buzzed. We're pissed.
It's fine.
Gotta hit something.
Really? So
No,
that
not
happened
really.
too that same day? That was
Yes.
the same
Yeah.
day?
That was before the show. We did like sound check together, if I'm remembering correct, and then we all marched down walking from 55th to downtown and back. And there was like there had to be, we had like a quarter mile of trail behind us of people coming with us.
So
show.
speaking of what you just said, do you guys actually remember? I mean, we're talking 30 plus years ago when this happened. How much do you guys? And I'm imagining that you guys weren't exactly like, you know, super sober people at the time. You know, there's definitely reasons
guess.
to not remember. Do you remember a lot of that time? I mean, especially like a guy like Jeff who went on, and a guy like you guys you guys all actually, you went on to do other things, some of them bigger and better.
Right.
As far as, but so do you forget stuff like that or?
I mean, a lot of it's a blur, but there's things that stick out that you remember.
And when we talk about it, I start remembering more.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's right.
Oh, and by the way, at that time, Jeff was super sober.
Yeah, he didn't drink,
Yeah.
smoke, nothing, and he would observe and write, and that's why he came up with these crazy lyrics all the time. Now
Yeah,
he's a
and-
drunken pig, of course.
Well,
I'm
that's
super sober again.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't
Awesome.
seen it in a
Good for
while.
you, Jeff.
Yep.
that's well, and when you were super sober, you were hitting those notes, man. Some of them notes you were hitting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just it happens almost every singer. Like Robert Plant can't really hit what he used to, and I saw Nasty Savage years ago, and the guy was all low notes, and even Jeff Tate, Promised Land's all low notes. You just kind of lose some of your register unless you're like really trained and do it all the time.
Yeah, but
Dickinson, too.
you were hitting. Dickinson still does some great
That
stuff.
live
Oh,
album
yeah,
he
yeah.
put up,
There-
that they put out, I was
there's
disappointed.
exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
for sure.
Fucking
Dio.
Halford, bro.
Yeah.
Dio was still doing it at
If
the
you're
end.
trained and you
yeah.
use
Halford,
your
I think
voice
he's
for
got a
it.
special throat coat or something.
Oh, yeah. he got something. Yeah, I wonder what it could be.
But you were Halfordish on that Time to the Tracks thing.
Oh, yeah.
You were Halfordish. You had except when you went. You know what? Well, you know what dawned on me listening to that album is that you guys were so ahead of your time because you were almost doing the two vocals that everyone does now, where you got the singer and the because you had when you wanted to, it was
Yeah.
I mean, you
two
were
different
just,
people.
Oh, that was the good stuff.
yeah, and then all of a sudden you'd come off with this Rob Halford scream, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, holy shit. And then right back to the
Yeah.
like you could just do both voices like it was two people almost. And then it went on 30 years later to become a style of metal.
Yeah,
You know?
Wow, you did your homework, bro. That's exactly right. That's
I
exactly
do my homework.
right.
You're so right about
Right.
that when
I
it
couldn't
comes
have
to-
worded it better. You're
Exactly.
two different people. And that growl he had such a unique tone.
Yeah.
With that lower register, I mean, it blew me away.
Well,
That was
plus,
good shit.
plus you guys wrote good songs. So let's just talk about that because that is the key to that album. I don't care what anyone else says. We can talk about his singing, talk about your drumming, which was spectacular. Talk about
Acceptable.
anything you want to talk about.
They call me Ringo.
The bass, man. Come on.
No. I'm just like, yeah. Well,
Don't talk about the bass.
but the thing about that album was, it's like a good part of that album is that guitar work, man.
Oh yeah,
It was-
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know there's no guitar guy here, but I'm listening to guitar work on that album. And I'm like, man, dude, these guys got
that's Greg Perry.
some killer
I
riffs.
think
man.
it was a special recipe though.
Yeah.
It was like Greg is an awesome guitar player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
I've jammed with him doing different things, and he shows up and he knows his shit. He's just on top of the game.
Definitely.
Squared away. He's always got his shit squared away.
His bad day is like most people's good day.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's
He's
great.
that- he's
when you
that
got that
good.
going on. Hell yeah.
All right, but like I said, the recipe was Mark was like crazy with the riffs and just wanted to, and it's like they just worked together to pull each other,
Yeah.
Mark pulled Greg to the heavier riffs
Right.
side,
There's
and
tug of
and
war
Greg
going
pulled
on.
and Greg pulled Mark to the, you know what I mean, to the calm down a little side.
Well,
Yeah.
I think also what I hear in that album also is that that okay, so that came out like right after Ride the Lightning. To give it a perspective of when the timing of all that was. Ride the Lightning, it just come out. Master
Right.
Puppets was coming out. What you guys are playing, it doesn't really sound like that kind of stuff. It sounds a little ahead of what. It sounds almost kind of like what came out a little later from that, where heavy metal had progressed to what you guys even did on that album. There's some riffy stuff on there,
Yep.
where it's muffled riffy stuff, where like there wasn't a lot of going on yet. That
Right.
wasn't a real big thing yet. It was a lot of open chords and a lot. That was still big then. It was still
Right.
And you guys had that crunchy, just cool, heavy sound, and then you had this vocal that was like way over the top coming in there, man. It was just the coolest. Plus, you had great
that's
vocal
awesome.
melodies. See that, and those can ruin a song too, right?
Yeah.
Where you have this great music going on, and then this vocal comes in. Even if you're a good singer, if your melodies suck and it doesn't go with the song, it kind of
cares? Yeah,
There's
who cares?
none of that. There's none of that. There's really not even a clunker on the fucking album.
But you know what? A lot of people lose track of is the lyrics themselves, which I didn't even know what he was actually singing till I read them on the sleeve. His lyrics are ridiculously deep and over the top.
You wrote all the lyrics for that album?
Oh yeah, man.
Everything, dude. When we did the EP, It was like at that time we wanted to copyright everything. We didn't want nobody to steal nothing. You know what I mean?
right,
It's
right.
not so much like
Mailed
that
it to
anymore.
ourselves, you
But
know,
at
that
that
thing.
time, that's how it was. And like when we registered those, dude, Jeff started getting letters from like Roadrunner and fucking labels. They wanted to buy his songs.
Oh, did
The
you ever
lyrics.
did you ever do it?
Nah, it just was always just for the bands I was in.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that
It was
wasn't
cool
what
to
it was
He's
about.
a
have stuff like
purist.
that happen.
Now, Jeff, did you play instruments also where you could write songs?
I
or did you-
wished I lugged the bass and the guitar for
We had
way
a
too
thing.
many days.
Me and Jeff had a thing going on, and because whatever he would come up with these ideas, but he couldn't play. And we were roommates back then at Purgatory Band House, and a lot of people. Sorry about what
Thanks
happened
to
to you there. But he would say, come up with something like he'd go da 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 da, and I knew exactly where and I could put it down on the bass. So he wrote his riffs. Yeah, he wrote his
Yeah, I
riffs.
think the melody tied to the tracks of the song actually came from me.
Yeah.
So you
so
would
we did.
you would mouth the
Yeah.
you would have like a
That
riff
was a
in
really
your
good
head.
connection.
Yeah,
So you
and
thought
do
like
that.
a guitar player. You
Yeah.
thought like
he
one.
heard the song just like when I was writing. I could visualize the whole song, what the drums are doing, this and that, which is why a lot of people don't like me anymore. But because I was a little pushy about my
Nobody ever liked you.
vision.
Are you sure that that's true, or is that just your version that people don't like you?
That's my version.
Okay, that's
Hopefully it wasn't
Yeah.
shattered.
I hope it's not true.
No,
But
it's half true.
I was hard on a lot of people, and some people appreciate it. Tony Ross, anyway. Who said that? I love Tony. He ended up really being a great guitar player. He really did, but I was pretty hard on him.
And that's why.
Yeah, and he did thank me, even though I was such
Oh
an
yeah.
asshole.
I told him to. I said, you better thank
Asshole.
Mark, Tony.
But you're talking about the songwriting before.
Yeah.
So here's how this happened. I don't know if it's been told before, but these guys, Jeff and Kenny, were looking for a bass player. And who'd you had? Al.
Ralph Strimple actually connected us.
Yeah, Ralph Stupp. I was a machine
We had
operator.
we had Al Barrios. That
Yeah.
was our first
right,
guitar
that's
player.
the guy. So they had a guitar player, singer, drummer, and they needed a bass player for this band. He had a name Purgatory ready to go for the right band, and they found me. But the thing was my roommate was Greg Perry, and we were roommates, so we jammed all the time
It
together.
was a package.
And we were and we wrote like 5 or 6 songs. Valley of the Shadow of Death was one of them,
that's a
but
great
we didn't know the name of it yet. We just had the riffs and actually put it all
It
together.
was a great song.
Jeff knew.
Oh,
Jeff
really
knew
is.
the name of it.
And then when these guys came and auditioned us at our house, I come home from work. There's 40 people at the house, and there's Harleys all over the front yard. Somebody's getting beat up. Who got beat up?
I don't remember.
Brian got beat up by Ralph. It's a long story with that.
Yeah.
But me and Greg, we just
paid
got
the
up.
rent.
As soon as I got home from work with my dirty work clothes on, machine operator. So, hey, they're waiting for us. I'm like, let's go. Plugged in, and me and him did a wall of sound with bass and guitar. And we've been working on stuff, and we played Iron Maiden for fun. So we were all over it back then.
They were good. That
So
was
we
like
kicked ass.
that was like the cool thing is like him and Greg knew like the same songs that me
Yeah.
and Jeff knew.
Oh, so when you got
You know what I
together,
mean? It was
So when
like
we got
Maiden,
you could just
together,
play.
Maiden and Priest, and I mean we
We
had,
had
like,
30 songs the first day.
Yeah.
just like that. We started doing covers, but went right immediately to do an original. That was the whole idea.
But you know what I didn't count on? Because when we did actually play with Kenny, there was no PA for the first month, so we never even heard Jeff sing.
really?
And it was just me, Kenny, and Greg, but we just such a chemistry. I still waiting to feel that again with anybody. But the three of us, right? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
That was the shit, and we just knew we had something. So
That was-
we worked
that was
on the
kind of-
songs. He's
Kind of like a
writing lyrics
perfect
the whole
situation
time.
because I had that time to just write.
Yeah, and he's writing the whole time for
Oh,
a month. And all of a sudden, when he could sing, he's like, "Here, we're going to call this Valley of the Shadow of Death." And it was a song that me and Greg were working on or playing around for a couple months.
Yeah, because
And
that song's got a lot of parts, man. It's
It
cool.
does, and I got to tell you, the thing is, like Kenny was saying, Greg was the structured guy, and I'm the out there guy.
Out of the box.
When I'm learning songs or just trying to write. And so I always thought you should have a musical journey, unlike the Yes and all that progressive stuff. So when we go into any lead part on Tighter Tracks, you'll notice this. We go into a different key, and we go into this, like, different journey. I like taking people on this journey because I like to go on the journey.
Yeah, right. I got you.
So, and during the lead, so if you listen to it that way, you'll see how when we start doing that the song changes, but then we bring it all back. And hopefully we segue it in a good way that's smooth. You know, and that's what we were trying to do.
So he's fucking with me.
No, never.
I can't even keep a straight face anymore.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
Dude, me and Mark are bros. It's all good.
That song, Valley of the Shadow of Death, though, that's a cool song. And there's some really cool changes in that song where you guys, because you guys, you know, that's one of them rare tunes. The opposite of what later became like the power ballad, like the metal ballads,
Right.
where you guys come out, rah, and then it goes, bow, 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 bow,
Yeah.
bow, 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 bow. It goes right in. It just stops and goes into that part.
Yeah, that was Greg Perry's idea.
Well, I got to admit, dude, the drumming in this album is pretty cool. There's some cool things in here that I don't remember remembering, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Because I remember.
You
not
change
remembering.
timings sometimes in the weirdest fucking ways where you're playing at a speed and the song changes and now the song is playing at just a slightly different speed. All of a sudden, it's not like a major change. And
No, it's
you
like
almost it's almost not even heard, but it's definitely there.
I know what party's talking about.
Yeah,
Almost
and
kinda like
I
a
don't think
structure
it's
change,
not
so
accidental. It's
it's
not like
not-
an accidental thing.
No, it's
It's
not.
definitely there, dude. And you guys had to play that shit live back then. This wasn't like, you know, digital time where one guy played one thing, one guy played one thing,
You ain't lying.
right? So you guys had to go in there ready, prepared, and you're doing this on the fly.
Yes.
You don't get a lot of redones and you don't get the
Yeah,
overdub
retakes. You can't
drums.
Back then, you couldn't stop and start again on a drum song.
Yeah, dude, there's
You
some
know what I
really
mean?
interesting stuff that goes
But it was
on.
like, and some of it, we just like, it ain't that bad.
Yeah, and when
enough.
when you were in here last time, you were telling me about, you know, Neil Peart was like one of
yeah.
your dudes, and I can hear the Peart on the rolls, the rolls that start right here, and they go.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely mimic.
Yeah.
That was my dude to mimic. I seen him at Public Hall, All the World's a Stage.
Yeah,
And then I seen he had a hi-hat on the right side and left, and I'm like, man, that's a fucking great idea. I got to do that. So I did. Mine wasn't as good as his, but
yeah. Well, they're pretty good. That's a great. Like I said, the key to that album, and I think the reason why you guys shined when you did was because the songs are great. It really
Yes,
does
thank
come
you.
down to
structure,
that.
fucking,
Yeah, I mean, it
really
does.
is.
good roots.
It always comes down to the songs, man. It's just those tunes are fucking and you were even saying the last time you were on about you were like they're kind of, you know, they kind of hold their weight today, right?
Right.
They definitely do. They definitely
I think
do.
they're a little
man.
more epic. Like you could put on some stuff, and I don't want to throw names out there, but like some of the stuff from that era, you can put that on, and you just like, wow, that's 1986.
Totally.
All day.
Some stuff sounds
Dated.
so
And
dated.
not that
Dated.
we don't sound like 2022,
No.
but you know what I'm saying. I just thought we were a little more. We were.
I think you guys were
Epic.
slightly ahead of your time as far as the music you guys were putting
Yeah,
out.
awesome.
I
Thank you,
really,
Brian.
I swear to
Thank you.
God, I do. I think you guys were not way ahead, but slightly ahead. Like you guys seem to be more.
Serious.
I think what came in the late '80s
Dude,
was
we-
what you guys were doing here. That's what I think. That's what I think.
You know what? You were talking about
we played
reproducing live.
practice 4 nights a week.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes
And you don't
5,
miss.
6 nights a week.
Yeah.
You don't miss.
But
you
our
guys-
practice was
And then
great.
we do an extra. Me and him. We do a fifth.
Oh, yeah. We would have an extra night, drums and bass only.
Just to tighten up the
Oh,
rhythm.
everything. We
Tighten
go over
up.
everything. No, to figure out cooler stuff to make it even cooler. We were always striving for good stuff, better and better and better, and not like rush tight, like every note, but just to know where we're at, so I could play something that kind of enhances, you know, without doing that note for note drums and bass thing Rush does, which I love. But sometimes you don't want to do that because you sound like Rush.
Back off of that mic. You're getting a little close there.
Am I really? But you were talking about reproducing these songs live because you'd really have to be on your game.
Yeah.
If we did actually play the songs like we recorded them,
Yeah.
we're fucking high-fiving each other because it was hard. We made it hard for us to play live.
Well, you know, and especially when you're playing on some of these bills like that, the one I was just talking about, where the Valentine's Day Massacre, is that what it was?
Yeah, right.
When you're playing on a bill like that, where you got you four guys who you're all friends, and you're all Bill Peters, you know, Auburn Rutgers, the whole thing, but. Let's not forget the fact that you guys all want to blow each other off the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And each guy knows that band wants to blow us off. So you're gonna you're practicing that week a little differently. You're doing everything. You're gonna fucking come out and you're gonna blow them away.
That is good pushing.
I
Yeah,
gotta tell you,
exactly.
as far as I'm concerned, I didn't look at it that way.
Never?
Because we were brothers with Destructor.
Yeah.
Not at first with Shock Paris and Breaker, because we were like the newcomers. Or who the hell are you? But we ended up being best of friends, and I just want.
But still,
rooting them
isn't there a
on.
compete? Yeah, but
I know. I
I'll
guess
agree
I
with
would be a
rooting
little
them
bit,
on.
yeah.
But when you're on the stage together tonight, like there's the rooting on part, and then there's the part where you're not going to leave that stage and be showed up.
You want to be the better
Right,
band.
you're right.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't
just-
care who you are, where you are. You want to be.
It's
the better
competitive. It's
right.
friendly though.
It's
I mean, like
nature. Yeah, it wasn't.
sometimes you're the fly and sometimes you're the windshield. That's how I always look at it.
Windshield. That's a good name for a band.
You play too good tonight. I'm punching
Nobody
you
will
right in
even
the
know.
face.
Windshield.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
it.
So Jeff, where were you originally? Before you came here?
New
I was
Orleans.
born in Berea. I actually went to New Orleans for a year. My brother was in the military, and his wife, and she was from down there, and he went AWOL. And, so I just we had a band together before I left called An Eye for an Eye, and I had actually gone to his house
Kenny.
to watch a rehearsal.
Not me, Kenny.
Okay.
Kenny. And I went to watch a rehearsal of Easterly. They were trying out a singer, and he had a mic, and I was sitting on the floor screaming the words with no mic, and they asked me if I wanted to sing. And
Is that when you found out you could sing? Is that basically how that worked?
I mean, I really sang since I was like 6.
Oh,
Like
where did you
faking
start?
with the hairbrush microphone?
Oh, that
I
kind
had,
of thing.
I had like a Kiss cover band where I pretended to play bass and sang, and a couple of my buddies, both named Mike, but we never played out.
Wow, we're talking about Mikes now. It's two guys named Mike. What's next? Mike.
I'm at a Mike talking about Mikes, but anyway. So
Ooh, I knew I was tripping.
I just had to leave for
fucking hell.
reasons I'm not really going to get into, but I went down to New Orleans.
Why'd you leave?
Tried out for a band and got the gig. And
Who came and seen you?
I want to know.
You went to New Orleans to see him? No kidding. You really are his buddy. You told me his buddy. He's like, I could talk about him if I want to.
That's my
but I-
ninja.
But I played the World's Fair and Mardi Gras and crazy stuff like that. And
What was the band? Who were you in?
it was
What
called White Heat, but it wasn't the hair band. We were called Sinner for a minute. Just not for a minute, but just the word Sinner.
That's a Judas Priest name, White Heat, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Dude, that was
Both
like
of
back
those.
when
Sinner. I guess Sinner would be too. If you were.
Yep.
back in the
But,
day when
great song.
I went down and seen him, that was like I was still like NFL. I like the Browns. I'm a big football fan, and the Saints were like that was when they had like maybe 200 people in the stadium and they wore bags on their head.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Aints.
Yep.
The Aints.
It
Yeah,
was
I
right
remember
around
that.
that time.
Archie Manning was quarterback, right?
I remember that.
It was
But
the early
that was a really
80s.
cool experience. I actually recorded my first ever time in a studio. It was in a junkyard. The window between the band and the control room was the back window of a Corvette.
Oh no kidding.
And we did like a cover of Hot Rockin', and I did a song that I wrote. And we just would play 5 hours a night.
That was it.
Go outside to vomit because I'm just worn out, not because I'm drinking or anything. But it just ended up they wanted to go back to their old sing or go back to just them three singing, and the bass player of that band had this. I'm going to make this new band called Purgatory, and I'm like, Since
take
they
that
were
one.
firing me, I'm like, well, I'm going to go home and become a rock star and make this band Purgatory.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to show you what
I
you
just
wanted
told
to do.
him, and what's crazy is that guy now teaches, and every year he tells the students about my story and how I actually did it.
No kidding. So that's the success story that he teaches his kids with. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I got a hold of Ken, and I was asking him if we could get the guys that were in An Eye for an Eye back together and keep going on from there. And he told me that they were both not doing it anymore, more or less. And so we hooked up with Al and started jamming, like we brought up earlier. We had a rehearsal space on Denison. And
Excuse me. Let me add one thing real quick on that. When Jeff left and went to New Orleans, they didn't want to look for somebody else. So I put it in my mind, you're a quitter. I don't fucking even want to play with you.
Okay, I got you.
Excellent.
I didn't know any of that. Shit.
That was a
Yeah,
joke, by the way.
then we
There it is. An exclusive.
DM before Mark.
Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
And Ralph Strimple was a buddy of Ken's, and he had Mark and he
And a
knew
hot
Mark-
old lady.
knew Mark and Greg, and we went to check them out, and that's how that part.
So,
got to be.
so this is, and that's how the four came together.
Yep.
Ralph Strimple. Bless his soul.
Is Ralph still alive? No?
man.
So now you guys make the album at that point. First, you make an EP first.
Yeah.
You make the Purgatory EP, right?
Now, how did that happen?
Now, let's start right there, right? So let's start with the EP.
All right,
So,
can I do this one? Go ahead.
well, so my guess the thing is like, first I want to ask you this. So you guys decided that you're going to form the band.
Yep.
So how does it start off? This is one thing I don't think anyone ever touches off on, right? Like, all bands are kind of assigned roles without anyone telling anybody what their roles are, right? Mm-hmm. How did you guys kind of go about that process? Like, how did you guys start this off? Do you remember that part where, like, here you guys are the four, you're going to start writing? Well, first you started doing covers, you said.
Yeah, but me and Greg Perry had about 6 songs.
Oh, that's right.
Written, just me and him, just guitar and bass. But we didn't even talk about the covers, but when we sit down with Kenny, without vocals that first month, he knows all this stuff that we know, so we're playing Scorpions and Judas Priest and
Maiden.
and a lot of Iron Maiden and mainly Riot. Riot, who I never even heard of.
They were a great band that never made it.
Right,
They were
not
like that
Quiet
band.
Riot,
They
but
actually
Riot from New
They
York.
had some level of career.
Yeah, I'm talking
Yeah,
about like,
Live records.
They
but
didn't
there was a
make
lot
it.
of people when Riot came out that thought that they would become like the
Right.
next
Yeah.
huge thing, and they never kind of got there.
Right, but they touched a spot with us, and that was these guys turned us on to that stuff. So we did like the Altar of the King, maybe Swords of Tequila, but we had our own originals. So the first week we were together, we could play like 30 songs.
That's
So
awesome.
we had a keg party, of course, that Friday. And I think we had a keg party every Friday for 6 months. And now we had this big practice room. Probably you could fit 100 people easily.
There's your
without even
following.
People
touching
thought it
each
was
other.
a club.
And we got a keg there, so people start coming. And one time, these guys, Ed and whatever his name is,
Bill.
White
Bill.
Peter, whatever, and they're down, and they tell us what we heard before. Oh, man, we want to do a record. We want to whatever. But he was serious. And he put up the money, and we went to Britain Square Sound and did it with his money. And that's how the EP came about. We were together about 3 months, when this happened.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow,
Maybe 4 months.
That's
right?
fast, man.
It was at the end of the year.
So you wrote the
1984.
songs, had them kind of
Yeah.
tight, and then went in there and was ready to put them down.
Yeah.
No
well, once
kidding.
he did his lyrics, once after that first month there were no vocals. When we got a PA, he had vocals. All of a sudden, these original songs me and Greg Perry were doing with his music and with his lyrics and the meaning of these things just morphed into what they ended up becoming.
Yeah, right,
Which
right.
we would never have pictured in
Yeah.
a million years, me and Greg, that these songs would actually be like that with the lyrics, and it was so cool, man.
Well, I think that's another thing about that album is that there's a lot of cool melody on that album that's
Yeah.
like missing in some metal. Even the Cleveland scene back then, you guys brought a certain degree of melodic stuff that made it great. That made it highly palatable. You know what I mean? And that's what it takes. I think that's a great thing. Highly palatable. That's
See,
the way
I
there's
didn't know that.
where you can really listen to your music. And it's easy to listen to. It's not something that you got to I got to listen to that album again if I'm really. I don't know.
wonder if
It's
that's
like
got
not like that.
anything to do with Greg Perry. Like one of his influences was Chet Atkins.
Yeah. It
He was a
us
country
together.
picker.
Yeah, so he had that
That
kind
was
of
a different dynamic.
catchy,
Like
catchy
metal.
rhythms and stuff like that. That's what country music is. That's all it's
And tell
about.
you
Really.
what,
But we weren't thinking about making it palatable or nice. We weren't even thinking what people might want to buy or
No,
listen
you're
to.
just buying what's natural to you.
We
guys.
were just playing because it felt good, and
Yeah.
that feels better to play it this way. And that's all we were doing at the time. We weren't thinking about any of that. Just the fact that actually did happen is pretty cool.
So
And
you
you're
guys,
saying these words palatable. That's awesome.
well, I mean, when
Right?
palatable, when I say that, though, what I'm saying is there's a lot of albums you listen to that actually could turn into your favorite album, but you had to listen to it a number of times to really get to it.
Yes.
That's not what this album was. This album was you hear it and you're like immediately Crush the Black Cross, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's backing vocals have ever scared me more in the vehicle driving down the highway than when the first goes crush, and I'm
my
like, "What the
God.
hell was that?"
Who
It's
wants
like,
this one?
It's like, holy shit!
You want to tell them?
drying out your new system, blows the windows out.
I'm like this.
I can tell you. I'll try to make it. Well, hey, we don't have to.
Make it as long as you want. We got.
We're at Suma Recording Studio, so now we're doing Crush the Black Cross. Somebody had a great idea of getting all the local metal bands, all
Who
their
was
friends.
that?
Huh?
Who thought of that?
I don't have no idea.
You know, Jeff, you remember?
I kind of thought I did, but I could be mistaken.
It could have been him.
Oh, no, you're not taking credit for this one. No.
It don't matter. So we got all the way out
Scratch
in
that.
Painesville. We got like 50 dudes, Siki Spacek, all of
All the bands
Shock
and
Paris.
friends.
Everybody.
Yeah, and
was
now
like-
we're making more friends, and we all bring beer. I don't know if there was a keg or everybody. There was plenty of beer, so we're getting hammered. So now there's 50 of us in the main room where you record, and Bob Pra, our roadie, remember this?
Props.
He was not conducting, but now he was the now guy. So there are 50 people, and they triple tracked it. So every time you hear Crush, it's 150 of Cleveland's
Times
local
3.
metal gods. Bam, Crush, and it's all of them guys drunk as hell. I can give you names. Yeah, that's what it was.
That's
what
really
it was.
like the whole scene.
Yep. And Bob was like, "No, I mean,
I mean, it was
just-
like DJs and everything. Like 88.7 Mitch was there. Like,
Yep.
it was everyone.
Kafka?
Everybody.
And,
But that started like
Wasn't it
that-
Mitch
but that
Kafka?
started- I think
Yeah.
that started like the
Photographers.
togetherness, brotherhood.
Oh yeah. After
You know
that,
what I
we're
mean?
brothers
That was
forever. And that was
that
so
was like
cool.
the start. Hey, we're all together, bro.
And
We're on the same fucking ship, man.
So
hell
after
yeah,
that,
man!
right. And that's how
But
it
you know what's so
started.
cool is nobody really sounded like anything like each other.
Right,
Really, it was
right.
very.
Right,
you guys
right,
were
right.
all very different.
Had
to
their
what you
own-
guys did.
everybody had their own
Like
dis-
Destructor even had their own names
they were all
and
there.
everything.
Yep.
Almost just like I don't know on a major
Dude,
level,
they were like the
Deep
earliest
Purple, Black
version.
Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Rush. They don't sound the same.
Oh no, you're right. Destructor's like the earliest version of the Mushroom Head Slipknot
yeah.
thing. They all had their own cool names. They were all like a character. They didn't wear the
Right,
costumes,
yeah.
but they had their, the Overkill. They all had their character and stuff. That was cool.
We're probably all going to want to say something.
That
about
was
Destructor.
cool, man. That
Power
was
Slave.
Destructor, about Destructor, and I'm sure everybody wants to say something, but we hit it off with them more than any other bands. They had a rehearsal spot on the east side. We had Metal West, our Purgatory band house, where you got to sign the wall when you come in. And they had their place, and we did shows together.
A lot of
and we
shows,
just
more
hit
with
it
them
off,
than any other
man.
band.
Overkill would come over with a bottle of tequila at 4 a.m. I'm like, yeah, okay, here we go. It didn't matter. I'm sleeping, but now my brother's here. He waited all the way over here. And it happened more than like 10 times.
Hey, quick story. We were doing a gig with Destructor, and the snares, how they strap onto the bottom.
Yeah, the snare.
The string broke, okay? And fucking, I was like, fuck, what the fuck am I going, what am I going to do, right? Fucking Dave Overkill's like, dude, here, try this. How about, will this guitar string work? And I'm like, fuck yeah, bam, bam. Fuck yeah, Dave.
nice.
Oh, we had great times at Blondie's in Detroit, and we're doing in-store, record appearance, sign record, Destructors with. It was just, we're brothers, man. I'm telling you.
You guys play a lot together.
We did.
Do you guys play out together a lot?
Yeah, out of town, too.
Now, how does Bill Peters get involved in this? Because how was his involvement? It was he had the record label, right?
Yep.
Auburn was a record label, but he didn't necessarily have the recording studio. You guys recorded elsewhere, and then he promoted it. He produced
he
it.
was
He
part
paid
of it.
for it.
He was in the
He's,
studio in
with us at
engineering.
Suma.
Yeah,
Oh, he
The
was.
suggestions.
Yeah, he paid for it.
Oh, so he was producing.
Producing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had a boombox recording. We didn't even have the EP yet. We went down to a show on 89.3, I think it was, and Siki had actually heard us and suggested us to Bill from that boombox recording.
No kidding.
Yeah, we didn't even have the EP yet.
I didn't even know that.
So you guys just had a jam spot, put a boom box in with the microphone, and just recorded the whole thing. It was like, here, listen to this, and they were like,
Right
Yeah,
through
they
the
actually
condensed
played
mic
us
right
on
on
the
the
radio.
fucking
did he
boombox.
already have the other band signed yet, or
Auburn was actually made for Breaker, and oddly, they were the last one to be released
oh, no
out of all
kidding,
those main bands.
no kidding. So that's what
Yeah,
he did.
so Shock Paris had just come out, and Black Death had just come out right before.
Oh yeah,
our
Black
record.
Death too. I forgot about them too.
Oh yeah, Siki. What a cool dude, man.
I always forget them because they were like the sixth band.
Yeah.
There was so many. That was such a cool time.
Nice guys.
Oh, that was
too.
a great time
All
to grow
of
up
them.
in. You
What
know
a
what
great
I mean?
time.
We talk about my kids sometimes, and it's like, there was like, 20, 30 years later, and it's like I just felt so bad because, you know what I mean? They're playing so well, but there's like 50 people to where in the mid-'80s, dude, you could play on Wednesday night, and you were guaranteed 150 people were showing up. I don't give a fuck
Without
who you were.
internet, without Facebook and
You were
all
just-
that,
you were
we're
just
just huge
original
crowd.
music.
Flyers and word of mouth.
Yeah,
I can
man.
imagine if we had Facebook back then or whatever. Everybody,
We
this
were,
band.
we were blessed to grow up in that time.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and so And I can remember also, all of a sudden, Frank Romano's name starts coming up. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he was kind of a weird thing because some people already knew who he was, and some people knew him because he got into purgatory.
Right. Yeah,
and
right.
then he became
We put him on the
Frank
map.
Romano, you know.
We
This,
put him on the
He
map.
was 15.
I agree with you. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
He would have became Frank anyway.
yeah, he would, but he was young. Well, no,
eventually.
he is. I know.
He
I
would've
was
been
just looking him up. I'm
the
like, wow, this guy.
We were like, what do they call that thing with the kid, Head Start?
Yeah.
Yeah, we jumped him up.
No, but that was the thing. He was a kid.
We were auditioning guitar players, obviously. Then and
That was a
we
big
were
meeting
with,
when we auditioned him because he was so young and we were like in our 20s,
Yeah.
early 20s,
We
and he was
had,
like 15, and we're like,
I don't know.
you know, is he going to change? Is he going to stick with this? You know, is he
Right,
gonna-
right.
That was the main concern. It wasn't so much his age. It was like, does he know what he wants?
Is he, can a guy that young be committed?
it was, we
Right.
had Dave Felton was
and he
our
was
guitar
the
player.
longest running guitar player. Frank Romano was 4 years.
So we're
Out of the 6.
I didn't
Yes.
know any of that, but we had at that time Dave
That's why I'm
Felton
here,
was our
Mark.
only guitar player. So we're auditioning guys. There comes this 15-year-old, and we've heard so many schleps, and we would audition with all our be there too. I don't know if I should say that, but we would have
Say
like
whatever.
12 people in the room. And people would audition, and Frank, here comes Frank, 15-year-old kid, and he looked 15. He wasn't like an older looking 15. No,
Right.
he probably looked 12 more than 15.
He didn't need a razor.
And
long hair.
And here we are. We're at a U-shaped, all couches and chairs packed with people. And there's this kid standing there. He goes, "Okay, what do you want me to play?" He's plugged in, ready to go. I'm like, I don't know, just jam, whatever.
With his custom amp and his SG guitar.
And he just,
Yeah,
in
that's what
front
he
of all of
had.
us, no.
15.
Yeah, he SG, definitely SG. But without any thinking about twice, he's like, okay. He just starts ripping, which wasn't that great back then. But he had balls like I'd never seen on anybody. We're all older than him, but when you're a teenager, that means a lot when you're 4 or 5 years. I was 10 years older than him.
Yeah.
That means a lot. So he just ripped, and we're talking, but we all went on the side to talk about him. But I had such a good feeling about him, and I pushed for him. I don't know who else did or didn't, but it was kind of a close vote.
Because of his age, if
Well,
anything.
yeah, well,
right?
you go to play in bars, he's 50. He's not 19, he's 50.
Yeah, it kind of poses a problem.
So, yeah, and he looked,
can't
like I
get in
said, he
there.
looked it, but he was just had something, and we knew it. We knew he had something. And he fit in, and then he became Frank by more and more and faster. And now he's just like,
yeah, now he's that guy again.
He's
Yeah.
the man.
He's
He
one of
can
them
do
dudes that he can do anything. He
Play
does. He does
anything.
everything.
I
Just
think
like his brother.
the unique thing about Frank, I think, and you know, I think we were blessed in Purgatory to have Greg Perry, to have Frank Romano, and to have Dave Felton. All right, those are three, I think, pretty awesome guitar players.
Yeah.
But I think Frank had a special way about himself to where, like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, he's a great player, but I think Frank, when he put the guitar on it, like became a part of him.
An appendage of his
Like,
body.
he just had that special.
I always said that about Eddie Van Halen. It's like that
special
when he
drawing.
had the guitar on him, it just looked like he was just
Right,
growing
it's-
out of his
yeah,
body
it's like,
somewhere.
you know,
he oozed charisma,
Yeah.
too. Charisma was just oozing
it's a
out of that
Siamese
kid.
twin.
Well, and that also seemed. And this is just coming from a fan's perspective of what was going on at that time. But that seemed to because Tied to the Tracks came out, you guys were playing some gigs, you know, and you know what's cool? That was a time where Cleveland was supporting the local scene.
Oh, yeah.
You went to a Purgatory show or any of them bands. There was other ones too. But you would go to these shows. People showed up for them shows,
Oh, yeah,
man.
yeah.
We never had less than 300 attendance.
Oh, you could
It
never.
was a brotherhood. We support each other, you
The
know.
Agora, you
Simply
guys would have a ton of people in the Agora in the theater area over there, man. You guys-
There's a couple
Bill
records.
Peters had, I think,
Always in the
somewhat
theater.
to do with that. Bill Peters wouldn't just like, okay, let's set up a show. He wasn't like a promoter. I'm going to make money. You know
Oh,
what
no.
I mean? He would like select the right show. It's like, no, I ain't doing that. That's
Oh,
not,
really?
That's not the right one. When he did a show, you knew there were going to be people.
So he was in charge of that also. Like, he was
he-
not in charge of it, but I mean, he did that.
he
He
would
would bring
he would
things
set
up
up
to
he
us.
would set up shows.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be like, you can't go play any other
He
shows.
wasn't our manager.
You know,
like
nothing
that.
Oh,
like
but
that.
the bigger ones, if you know the ones, well, because he could promote you guys on his show and all kinds of stuff.
When he asked you
Which
to do a
affects the
show, you
record.
knew it was going to be a good one.
And anytime he promotes us, a big show, that helps the record sale and on and on and on.
yeah. So who owns your guys' publishing rights and all that stuff?
Steam Hammer.
Tied to the Tracks is 50-50, and then there was something with Steam Hammer, which we never made a dime. But
Distributor out of Europe.
not-
That's why you
I'm
get
not
the
bitching, I'm happy.
European copy of
SPV
Purgatory.
now, Steam
It's a
Hammer,
Steam
I believe, is
Hammer.
gone.
So
Are they gone?
It's
did
just
Purgatory
called
make any
SPV.
money? Did you guys make any money with that? I mean,
yeah, we made $1,000 a gig, bro.
so is that what it was though? Did
the
you get
record?
1,000 a gig?
No, not
No, that's
I'd say
that's. I
15.
mean, after the first $300 gig,
But
and then
that
it
was
went
us
to
doing it.
1,000, and the club owners were like, you're prima donnas. I'm not paying that much.
No,
and
you
then,
gotta get
and then
15.
2 months later, hey, you want to do that gig?
Did they really? Is that how it went?
Because, dude, I'm telling 300 people, and then they're all drinking.
Oh
you know-
yeah, man.
Why wouldn't you? You know what I mean?
No,
He was just
fucking-
wrong. He just
Our
had to,
roadies get paid.
Well, they think that they can bully people.
he had to
People-
eat some
Right.
crow. You know?
Yeah, right, man. You had to go without for a little while to
$100
realize.
Digman.
Yeah.
I didn't think they tried to. I remember that.
That's so cool though, man. Because I think when Romano got in there, it was like another boost to the whole band because
Well,
it got
yeah.
the buzz going again. Is what happened.
Right.
There was this buzz now going. You know, there are 2 guitar now, and they got this Frank Romano, this kid. He's like a phenom, and da da da. It was like a whole nother boost. You know. What I remember is that Jeff was a real big deal back at that time also.
Oh, I knew it.
All right, Jeff was a real big deal back then. He was. His name was synonymous with the whole Cleveland metal scene.
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody knew it. That's why you were able
Should
to,
be.
after this, to do your own thing, call it Hatrix, and every fucking buddy knew who that was
fucking that-
immediately.
dude, and that was awesome shit. He had
Smart
awesome
move, Jeff.
players.
Oh yeah.
I was.
They played out constantly. They were always. You could always see Hatrix.
We still have the same work ethic. Like we would jam 5-6 nights a week too.
Oh, yeah.
It just was ingrained.
Yeah, you can't help it. Well, that's why people know who you are. You know, it takes that kind of work ethic. It takes that kind of dedication. People that think they can just come into this thing and they're just going to be so talented, so great, that everyone's just going to love them.
They're going to
that
knock
doesn't
on your
work.
door. He'll record
You
contract
know, you
at the
gotta
door.
you
Yeah.
gotta
Chemistry.
freaking work.
Chemistry together.
But when you do that when you're really young,
Us, not you.
you
Yeah.
got it forever.
It separates you though from the rest of the pack, though,
Yeah.
man. It's what it does, you know.
Well, when you pound it in when you're young like that, I mean, I feel like I still play, of course, but it's awesome. I mean, and I attribute a lot of how I can play because we worked so hard when we were young and pounded it in. It's like I could go like a couple weeks without playing and just like go up and kick ass and have
Let's
fun.
get Jeff to talk. 'Cause he needs to talk more. I'm not hearing him too much.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
What do you-
Elaborate on that, Jeff. Elaborate on that, Jeff.
Every time I try to get Jeff to talk, one of you two guys are cutting him off. Poor Jeff over here. He's like, yeah, let me tell a story, and your guys are like, let me just say this.
Just like the old days.
Is that how it was?
Yeah.
Is that how it was? It took you forever to write lyrics because you'd get like 4 of them out when
Yeah.
you'd be like, they're like, oh yeah.
Oh, dude, he had like those, those big bind with the big loops in them.
Yeah,
he had like
binders.
he had 6 of them filled with lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
So you always write?
remember that.
Always just writing?
Always.
I mean, is there a ton of stuff that never made it?
There was a lot of times I'd just write perspective lyrics for future songs, and then when there'd be music, I just look and find parts that would work. Or sometimes the song would work the first one I turned to. It just fit the music. It's just
That's cool, man.
cool to have backup stuff.
I
I
know-
just do it all on the iPad.
I know that you're. I know we're here for the Purgatory thing, and I know I just mentioned Hatrix and everything, and anybody that knows anything knows that you're also on Mushroom Head for a long time,
Yeah.
and now you're doing the Jeffrey Nothing thing,
Yes.
the Doom Candy. But the real question is this: Do you looking back on everything, do you realize who you are in the whole perspective of things? Do you ever look back at us and be like, I mean, dude, you're a big deal. I mean, I'm not just saying that because it's just my perspective of things, especially in this city, I know it goes beyond the city, but especially in this city, anybody that knows anything should know who you are. And if you don't, shame on you. So it's like, do you realize that about yourself? And I'm not saying go ahead and, don't be humble. But do you step back and are you good about what happened in your life? Is your career, you know what I mean?
It's really a blessing, and I just I felt like I wanted to leave a mark somehow, and have my lyrics actually mean something to people. And I get letters and stuff on Facebook messages, and just people thanking me for keeping their friend alive longer because of my lyrics, or my lyrics got them through being in a tank in Iraq, or whatever it was. It's just that part of it is so cool, and I'm just blessed to have been able to do this my whole
yeah.
adult life it's like it's 40 years basically
Yeah,
of
dude.
singing.
Yeah,
That's
man.
fucking awesome. You
They'll
know
have to
what,
pull me off a stage or out of a
It's a
studio.
good life, Jeff.
Jeff? When they signed to Universal Records, me and Jeff always stayed in contact, and he would stop down and see me periodically, and we might not talk for a year. But, I mean, he came down to my shop, and it was right after Mushroom had signed her. Big fucking deal, dude. And he's down there, and he's just talking about fucking purgatory. And then one more thing.
What a
Another time before that, he stopped down to my shop, and it was when his first daughter was born, Mia. I don't know if that's your only daughter. I'm not sure, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it
That's
was
fine.
like he comes down there, and he comes down to my shop. He's in fucking Mushroom Head. They're fucking doing well, and he's got this book with baby pictures. It's like, here's where she's born. She's 2 hours. She's 2
sound
hours.
just like you.
She's 2 hours right here.
Bill said.
I mean,
Right. How do you not love this guy, right? You know what you're saying?
People, I think, get
Oh, yeah, we love Jeff.
misconcepted because he might not say something.
Yeah, sometimes people think silence is arrogance.
And it's not.
Yeah, I hear
Not
ya.
with that
It's not-
motherfucker.
right. No,
I
man.
know better, man. I've lived with him. I threw him out.
We would go to parties. We would go to parties, and he'd sit in the corner of the party. He doesn't drink or smoke, and he'd sit in the corner at this party, and he'd write lyrics. And sometimes you get this asshole that would come by and say, well, you got probably writing down, something. I'm like,
What you call it?
I let it go to the point where I got to step in. I'm like, you don't ever talk to him again. Leave him alone. Oh, this happened more, right, Jeff? I mean, dude, I want him to be in the corner writing shit down. It happened a lot. That's how we wrote songs.
Yeah. But it takes everybody, man. You can't. Everybody
yeah.
can't be extroverted. Everybody can't be introverted. Everybody can't be the writer. Everybody can't be everything.
And
And it
don't
wouldn't
touch
work
my
if,
singer.
and it doesn't work if everybody is anyways. That doesn't work either. You know what I mean? So,
Nobody's going to be perfect.
No.
And I don't care what color you are.
yeah,
There's some hate there.
yeah, you're right.
My name is Hate, and I'm not going away.
You're right. It's true.
It's unfortunate.
That'll be fine.